Welcome to the Ed Leaders Edge podcast, where we interview innovators and thought leaders in the field of education who are helping students thrive. I'm your host, Ed Madison. I'm a professor and researcher at the University of Oregon, an educational consultant, and serve as executive director of the Journalistic Learning Initiative, a nonprofit organization that empowers elementary, middle, and high school students to discover their voice, improve academic outcomes, and become self-directed learners through project-based storytelling. Welcome to our program. Welcome back to the podcast. Dr. Celeste Merriweather is superintendent of the Bridgeton Public Schools in Bridgeton, New Jersey, where she's spent nearly 25 years in the same district in various capacities. She holds a PhD and a master's degree from Penn State University, and her earlier expertise was in early childhood development. Welcome, Dr. Merriweather.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Let's start with early childhood because, there was a birth to three movement at one point, but we know that those early years set such a foundation for what we can expect for kids as they get older and move through the school process. Tell me, we also often find that if we have parents who didn't have parents who modeled great parenting for them, they can sometimes not offer the best support for kids. So how do holistically, it's a big question, but holistically, how do we start earlier with kids so that we prepare them as they begin to enter,
Yeah. Thanks for throwing me the softball question first. Okay. No, but this is something that is near and dear to my heart. And what you're saying is absolutely right. When we're dealing with our youngest learners, a lot of times we're not just educating them, we're educating their parents. Many times their parents are very young. So they are new to parenting and not so far removed from being parented, have a lot of grandparents who are very involved in the education and the lives of their grandchildren. So what we have done is, particularly in Bridgeton, but in the movement of early childhood, is we really work hard to have a holistic approach to not only teaching students self-regulation, but also involving their parents very early on in that self-regulation. Here in New Jersey, we actually have a program where we have preschool from ages 3 and 4. So they are coming to us in a very systemic and committed way in age 3. We're learning not only the what they need to learn in preschool, they're learning how to not only some of the academics of education, but also how to make friends, how to be in an environment, almost trying to educate them, if you will, and really how to start being a citizen, even as 3 years old. But what it also helps with our parents is teaching them, hey, this is what it means to be an involved parent. Not helicopter, but this is what it means. Learning what literacy really looks like. It's just not flashcards. If some people, I don't even know if they have flashcards. I don't know. I might have dated myself just then. But not just flashcards, or not just, helping with the homework, with noodle art, but really nurturing an environment of learning. Sometimes that's just having conversations. The research shows us that many times in students, and in school districts or areas of color, many of the children do not have as large a vocabulary as some of their other peers. So really just talking to their children about anything. It can just be like, hey, wow, right now the trees are turning colors. Boy, I love the color orange. What about you? Do you see that? Look at this leaf. It's really big versus the other ones. Those piney leaves. Just those types of conversations really assist children with just really understanding, like, wow, everything I do is a help. And it helps the parent understand that you don't have to have these degrees. That's what we're here for. But mom, dad, grandma, aunt, friend, you are just as important because you are instilling that love of learning. And so when we think about the whole child, we also are thinking about just how they are developmentally, how they are developing appropriately and developmentally appropriately so that they can continue on, because it's not just preschool. We start them in preschool, but then when they go to kindergarten, there are still some expectations that they are going to really thrive, but it starts to ratchet up even in kindergarten. So while in preschool, say they still take naps in New Jersey, we still believe in sleep.
Yeah.
Kindergarten, oh, they're in it to win it. They're in their centers. They're going. They're still outside. So sometimes there's some parents that say, hey, I really don't want that strong of an environment for my children. We honor that. But then that's going to improve. Like, okay, mom, well, just to let you know, in first grade, baby, it's the pedal to the metal. Here we go. Because a lot of children are ready to start reading. A lot of children are ready to really start understanding what they're doing. We used to have a motto where in preschool through grade 2, it was learning to read. And then third grade on, it's reading to learn. So we have to have them ready to read, to learn. And that's not just that. That's not the very short order. That's a tall order, because we know that there are too many students that are almost in high school that are sort of kind of still learning to read, still learning those nuances. So the quicker that we can get the student to truly be able to read, not just the words on the paper, but truly be able to make sense of it when they get to third grade and really be able to attack more complex, critical text, that now they're really ready to receive it because they don't have to worry about sounding out words. Yeah. They're not thinking about those types of things. I can really start to think about it. So when we think about the whole child from preschool to grade 3, as we do here in New Jersey, those are the types of things that we're thinking about. Literacy, math fluency, learning around the ways around them, how to deal with peers. That's very big now, particularly post-COVID, how to deal with themselves. Those are the types of things that are really super important in early childhood.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the issues in some of our communities is just making sure basic needs are being met. If you've got a child who's, doesn't have a warm coat or didn't have a, hot meal before they came to school, it's very difficult for them often to concentrate. And in other communities, I have a colleague, Rhonda Neese, who does research about school disciplinary practices. And we find that we've got communities where our Black and brown kids are just disproportionately sent to the principal's office, sent referrals. I'm just curious. I'm not clear on just the socioeconomics of your particular district, but I'm sure just in terms of your expertise and around this area, you have some thoughts about that.
Sure. So Bridgeton has right now about a 60% Hispanic population. That has changed since I've been here. I started in 2000 in this district, where it was at that time about 40, maybe 50% African American, 30% Caucasian, and the rest Hispanic. That has significantly changed. So to the point of, it is very difficult for students who have not had a warm meal or who are coming from homes that are less than ideal to respond and bring their whole self to school. I'm proud to say many of our students do that. But there is very strong research, and no one would try to snow you to say when you are in a community that does have severe lacks in social services, yes, you're going to have those issues. To the point of discipline, particularly for our students of color, when you're in your school district like mine, where we're all basically of some color, Black or brown. We do see those types of measures. They don't stick out as much like a sore thumb because we do not have Caucasian students. But what we can look at is the differences between our students who are Latin, Latin descent, and our students who are African American, because that's where we can see some differences there. There's still the old adage of boys versus girls. So that's an area where we're noticing a lot of the Black boys. What are their discipline referrals look like? What are their suspensions? Interestingly, what are their special education rates? Because a lot of times it can be our Black boys, no matter how small the population, it just appears it appears that many times they will be the ones targeted for that. So what we have done, and what I would encourage anyone, and certainly in my educational expertise, is we really need to drill down that data. When we're looking at discipline, where is it coming from? It can even be so much as what teacher may be struggling in this area. No teacher wakes up in the morning, I would like to think, and says, I wonder how I can mess these kids up today, particularly the Black and brown ones. But what they may do is, because these aren't my experiences, I may not really be up for the task of really trying to drill down, because I do have a lot of other things I'm trying to do. I've been asked to do this curriculum. I have other students. I have all these things. And remember, teachers are people too. So they're also dealing with all of their other things that they're coming to school with. So it's our job as administrators to really give them the resources. We have what's in our district called social emotional learning specialists. So they're reaching out directly in classrooms with students, with teachers, really getting them to understand the nuances of what students may be going through, particularly if they don't look like them. We have behavioral specialists who are working directly with students and sometimes the teachers. We have community parent involvement specialists that work with our parents, who are really trying to get them to understand that, hey, there are some norms that may be out there in the community that do not align with school districts, that do not align with schools. And I think we've all been through school. So we all knew you walk to the right side, raise your hand before you speak, all those types of things. But there are some new challenges out there that some of
the kids missed that during 2 years of being out, right?
And it's so interesting. That 18 months or whatever, wherever you are in the country, some went right back. Some of us, like New Jersey, we really erred on the side of caution. It really took a toll. And it's so amazing that it depends on when those students missed. They did miss. Listen, we walk on the right side, everybody. Or we raise our hand to talk. Or you don't just look at your phone the whole time. We talk to each other. What does that look like? What does respectful discourse look like?
Let's step away from our conversation for a moment for me to tell you about the Journalistic Learning Initiative's innovative educational tools and services. If you're looking to make the best decision for your teaching staff and students about AI adoption, improving student engagement, strengthening writing skills, promoting social media mindfulness, or enhancing college and career readiness, please take a moment to visit our website at journalisticlearning.org. Our team of University of Oregon researchers offer customized AI tools, instructional materials, professional development, and consulting. Research confirms that students with journalistic learning experience outperform their peers on numerous key indicators for college and career readiness. At the heart of our work is empowering learners to become effective communicators. If you think about it, effective communication is critical in every human interaction, whether it's writing an essay for a grade or being interviewed to secure employment. Since 2015, JLI has benefited nearly 20,000 students and served schools in 15 states and the District of Columbia. I invite you to schedule an appointment to explore how JLI can improve your students' learning outcomes. Now back to our program.
We missed that. And in some ways, we encouraged a lot of screen time, because when we asked students to come back to school, they were actually still looking at a screen, interacting with online tutors. We had to, not knocking that, but that's the reality of it. So we even encourage, we're sitting right together, but we're still talking to each other through the screen. So when we're thinking about those types of things and thinking about referrals and thinking about discipline, there's a holistic approach still that we need to have. We need to continue to talk to our parents. We still have parents that have a very, what we call hands-on approach to discipline that is not encouraged, no longer frowned upon. Okay. Then we have some parents that really feel like, hey, they should know what to do. And if they don't, that's on them. We're going to let them figure it out. We're going to give some tough love. Those are the types of things that we talk to parents and say, just as we need the preschool parents to be involved, we need our high school parents to be involved. These are the things that we're seeing. Social media is huge right now. And across the country, we are being swept in education with students who are not fully understanding that the actions that they take on social media are going to have very real consequences.
They don't disappear.
They do not. And they don't understand that, hey, when I make this threat and I'm just being funny or I'm just trying to elicit response, that it's going to have very real consequences. I was speaking to a colleague and she really summed it up perfectly. She said, these are the old fashioned fire drill, pulling a fire alarm. I said, you know what? It sure is. But see, remember you pulled the fire alarm, ha ha ha, we all stood outside. Police, the firemen came, all clear, don't do that again. And then we all went back inside. No harm, no foul. Happened maybe once a year.
Right.
Now what we're seeing though is students not understanding that these are very real threats. And unfortunately, we in schools can't discount them because unfortunately they're all too real. There are too many students, too many adults who are making good on those threats. So when we're thinking about discipline and everything else, who are making those types of threats? And instead of being punitive, there is a punitive arm because we do have to take them seriously. But what we're going to do in Bridgeton in particularly, we're going to reach out to parents. We're going to have those conversations of, hey, listen, things have changed since you and I have been in school. No matter how young you are, they're still different. So these are the real consequences. Let us show you what the consequences are as far as the district policy is concerned. Let you talk to the prosecutor's office, who's going to make real consequences to students, no matter how young you are, when they make these types of threats. Those are the types of things. We still unfortunately have way too many instances where the Black and brown communities do not trust the police or, the policing like they should, and again, that's a whole separate podcast, but that doesn't lead to the safety that some students feel when they either are out of school or in school and really want to share, like, hey, there's some things going down in my neighborhood that I heard about. Some of them are still not very comfortable. I'm proud that some of them are, but that's still a very real fear. Gangs are a very real fear in this part of New Jersey. That someone would say, wow, is it? Yes, it is. So those are the types of things that when we're thinking of discipline, when we're thinking of the disproportionality of who is actually being disciplined, thankfully, we do not do a lot of expulsions in our district, but we do have students that due to their the severity of their crimes, they are on out of district placements. So what does that mean for our students? What does that mean for our district? Some people may say, great. We're taking it seriously, but I still also say, hey, we're not throwing those kids away. What's happening? What's happening in our community that we need to lock in and provide a resource to the outside resources because we're the school experts, but there are social service organizations that are much, more in tune to these types of activities. How can we work together so that our parents, who a lot of times are coming to us like, we don't know what to do. And that's fair. If I knew what to do, I'd do it. But what can we do to help them? Because that is a very real thing that we deal with every day, and it morphs every year.
Yeah. Now this leads me to a topic of teacher burnout, and we're losing a lot of. There's shortages in so many parts of the country, and I know that just team building and creating a culture that is mindful about our teachers as well is an important topic for you.
Yes. So what we've done in our district is real, just like everyone else. I'd love to say Bridgeton did not have that touch us, but we did in a very real way. What we did is really try to understand that teachers are feeling burnout from many different ways. And I kind of alluded to it as we were talking a little earlier that, many of our teachers lost family members. Many of our teachers are honestly still ill from long COVID. Many of our teachers just are in places that can be very difficult for them. So completely understanding that, but also understanding that we have a job to do. I am not at liberty to say, hey, listen, everybody, we're going to take off all Mondays and we're going to work from home. I don't have the liberty to say that. But what I do have the liberty to do is make sure that the environment in the classrooms is as helpful as it can be. Make sure that the administrators are as flexible as they can be within the guidelines of the district policy, but also making sure the district policy reflects that. In our district, we have what's called Wellness Wednesdays. We just had one yesterday. It's about once every month, but like on December, it's difficult. But where it's a one session day, and we strongly encourage every staff member to take that time to decompress. There are no meetings. there's nothing. That's an opportunity. I've gone to some office and they've had the lights down low, their feet are up, they're sipping tea and they're reading a book. Some of them are with their colleagues. Some schools have created, fun activities for them to do. We had a paint, and we said, and a mock sip, because it's school, but we did that. So we're doing things that really allow teachers to understand and staff members to understand that we see you. In our district, we also have an employee assistance program where our staff members who really need a little bit more support, be it in mental health or just someone to talk to, they're able to reach out to that organization or use that resource in order to get the support that they need. But teacher burnout is something that teachers continue to talk about, because again, it's now a scary time that a student can put on, or anyone can put on social media, that I'm going to do something to this school, or I'm going to do something to this community, but we're supposed to still come to work, smile in front of and be ready to go, ready to encourage. That's happened a little bit too many times, and some people are getting burnout from that. I would be remiss in saying that education is a very different place than when I started 30 some odd years ago. It's very, very different. The accountability is different. And I make no apologies for that. That is what's being asked of us for not only the federal government, but the state government, but also our school board. We need students to be ready for the new society. And that's not the old, we just kind of, we write our lesson plans in the box like we used to and then move on. There's a lot of data crunching that we do now that we did not do in the early 90s and when I began teaching. So those are all the things that I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. It made me think to ask you about AI and how you're thinking of it.
Oh my Lord. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to follow that thought and then I'm going to jump to that. So those are all the things that teachers are experiencing that make it difficult to continue to stay fresh. It's certainly one of my hashtags is the journey continues. The journey certainly continues. And there are some of our teachers that said, you know what, it's almost nothing you can do, Dr. Merriweather. It's just time for me to tap out. This is a very different profession than it was. And we respect that. Don't want it, but we respect that. When you're talking about AI, when I think this was about 2-3 years ago, when we kind of really didn't know much about it, we did like everyone else, stay away, keep it out, get it out of here. Just like the computer, no good, not there yet. So we are still learning. I remember when we were talking about Chat GPT, and all of a sudden all of our high school students were turning in phenomenal essays. I was like, these kids are amazing. They're geniuses. And then they were like, Dr. Merriweather, it's called Chat GPT. Didn't know about it. So certainly our high school teachers knew about it, but that is something that we are learning more about and seeing how we can embrace it. But also, as we are embracing it, we also have to learn how to create some guardrails around it, so that we can make sure that while our students are using it as a resource, because what we understand is if we do not embrace it in a meaningful way, our students in Bridgeton will be left behind. So while there'll be more affluent districts or districts that are just on the cusp, there can be states that this is our jam. They'll be able to really meet those challenges of a tomorrow where our students are still today, and by the time they graduate, they're in the past.
Right.
So we really appreciate that. No, whatever it is that we need to do, we need to really start putting those things into place. We need to do our own research and then make sure that our curricula reflects what is very, very new and current, which is very different than education has done. Normally, it takes us 2 to 3 years to put it into curriculum. It's still okay. If you wait 2 to 3 years to put in what's in there today, you're behind.
Right.
You're behind. So we have to be a lot more nimble, particularly when it comes to AI. We're getting there. Certainly by no means there yet.
Mm-hmm. I just want to close by asking you, was there a teacher in your past that made an impression on you that it sort of inspired your path?
My gosh. So I had the pleasure of having many teachers in Camden. I had the pleasure of having many Black women principals. I had a Black woman principal in elementary school. Her name is Dorothy Wyatt. I had a Black woman principal in middle school. Her name was Dr. Arnold Frazier. And I had a Black woman principal in high school, and her name was Roletta Twine Crean. And that is almost unheard of certainly during those times. They really taught me about excellence. That having representation really, really mattered. And people who maybe don't quite understand that, and I didn't even understand it until I became an educator, until I became an administrator, who really, people started talking to me about it. But they really let me see, and let a lot of other young people like me see, that you can aspire to whatever it is that you really want. If, obviously you work hard, that you stay true to yourself, but it is possible, because where I grew up in Camden, a lot of it was the bar was a little high. Like you would only kind of do this much, and it was okay. I mean, everybody was pretty happy from what I saw. But then when you had people, Black women who were principals, like, wow, Black women who worked in a central office. And I mean, our principal of the high school, I'll never forget, we were being honorary high school students and we were in the gym. And when she walked by in the gym, she just walked in and you could hear the hush. She just walked from one to the other. And by the time she got to the other side, you could hear a pin drop. And I was like, whoa, I mean, nobody messed with Miss Cream, Right. And so to be able to emulate that, to be able to tell her before, to say what an impact she made on us. And when she'd see us, she'd like, here's my babies, those are the things that really impacted on me. I had so many teachers that were like that did not accept anything less than our best, that they would demand excellence. And I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of being part of the legacy of excellence that Camden has taught me.
What a delight to talk with you, Dr.
Thank
Celeste
you.
Merriweather. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah. Okay.
I hope this was helpful. This was fun. Thank you so much.
The Ed Leader's Edge podcast is produced by the Journalistic Learning Initiative. Please check out our latest books, Language Arts in Action from W.W. Norton Publishing, and Raising Empowered Learners from Rauman and Littlefield. For more information about our work, please visit journalisticlearning.org or edleaderedge.org. Thanks for listening.